In chemistry, a reaction only happens when the conditions are right. It's no different in real estate. Welcome to the Alkaline Reaction, a podcast from Alkaline Advisors, where we break down the deals, partners, and capital structures that turn opportunities into outcomes. I'm Spencer Carenti, and today's reaction, architects. When most people think about architecture, they tend to focus on aesthetics, how a building looks, the shape of the facade, or how a structure fits into a skyline. But in the context of real estate development, the architect's role is much broader than visual design. Architects are the professionals responsible for translating a developer's investment idea into a physical building that can actually be constructed, approved by regulators, and occupied by tenants. They sit at the intersection of design, engineering, regulation, and economics. And because of that position, architectural decisions influence everything from development costs and building efficiency to tenant experience and long-term asset value. So today, we're going to walk through the role architects play in the development process. We'll start by discussing how architects translate development strategy into spatial design. Then we'll explore site analysis and feasibility, where architects help determine what can realistically be built on a property. After that, we'll examine concept design and design development, where the building begins to take form. And design decisions are balanced against cost, market demand, and constructability. We'll then look at construction documentation and permitting, where architects coordinate with engineers and regulators to prepare the technical drawings required to build the project. And finally, we'll discuss construction administration, where architects remain involved during construction to ensure the building is delivered according to the design intent. If you step back and look at the development process as a whole, architects play a central role in translating ideas about real estate into physical structures. At the beginning of most development projects, there is usually an investment thesis. A developer might identify a piece of land and believe it could support residential housing, an office building, a mixed-use project, or perhaps a repositioned industrial property. But an idea about a building is not the same thing as a building itself. This is where the architect's role begins. The architect's first job is translation. They take the developer's concept and begin converting it into a spatial plan that can exist within the constraints of zoning regulations, engineering requirements, construction methods, and financial budgets. This process often begins with something known as programming. Programming is essentially the process of defining the functional goals of the building. The architect works with the developer to determine what types of spaces the project needs and how those spaces should be organized. For a residential project, that might include the number of units, their size and layout, amenity areas, parking requirements, and circulation spaces, such as hallways and elevators. For an office building, it might involve determining floor plate sizes, lobby spaces, tenant amenities, and the vertical circulation systems that move people through the building. Through programming, the architect organizes these requirements into a coherent spatial framework. In simple terms, they transform strategy into geometry. But before a building design can move very far forward, developers need to understand something fundamental. What can actually be built on the site? One of the most important early contributions architects make is helping determine the development potential of a property. Every piece of land comes with constraints. These may include zoning regulations, building height limits, floor area ratios, density restrictions, setback requirements, and parking mandates. Architects analyze these rules and translate them into what is often called a buildable envelope, the three-dimensional space within which a building can legally exist. Developers frequently ask architects to perform what are known as test fits. A test fit is a conceptual study that explores how different building configurations might fit within the zoning constraints of the site. For example, a developer may want to know whether a site can support 200 residential units, whether an office building can achieve efficient floor plates, or whether retail space can be integrated at the ground level. Architects produce conceptual massing diagrams and preliminary layouts that illustrate how these possibilities might work. This stage is critical because it feeds directly into the financial feasibility of the project. If the site can only support 100 units instead of 200, the economics of the deal may change dramatically. If the building footprint results in inefficient layouts or limited rentable space, the revenue potential of the project may be reduced. In other words, architects play an early role in answering one of the most important investment questions in development. Does the deal actually work? In addition to zoning constraints, architects also analyze the physical characteristics of the site itself. The size and shape of the parcel, surrounding streets, adjacent buildings, access points, and topography can all influence how a building must be designed. A narrow site may limit floor plate efficiency. A corner site may allow more natural light and street presence. A sloped site may require more complex structural solutions. All of these factors influence both the design and the economics of the project. Once feasibility is confirmed and the project moves forward, the architect begins developing the concept design. This is where the building begins to take on identity. Architects explore the overall form of the building, how it sits within the site, how people enter and move through the structure, and how natural light interacts with interior spaces. They also begin considering materials, facade systems, and the overall visual expression of the building. But strong architectural design is not simply about aesthetics. Good architects constantly balance three major forces. First is market demand. The building must appeal to tenants, residents, or buyers in the target market. Second is constructability. The design must be something contractors can build efficiently with available materials and construction techniques. And third is economics. The building must align with the project budget and financial model. This balance is where architecture becomes both creative and strategic. As the design evolves, the project moves into what is known as design development. During this stage, the architect coordinates closely with a broader team of consultants. These typically include structural engineers, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, plumbing engineers, civil engineers, and landscape architects. Together, this team refines the systems that allow the building to function. Structural systems determine how the building stands. Mechanical systems control heating, cooling, and ventilation. Electrical systems distribute power and lighting. Plumbing systems manage water supply and drainage. Architects coordinate these systems so that they integrate efficiently within the building design. Eventually, the project moves into construction documentation. This phase is far more technical than many people realize. Architects produce detailed drawings and specifications that describe exactly how the building will be constructed. These documents can include hundreds or sometimes thousands of pages. They define wall assemblies, structural connections, window systems, accessibility requirements, fire safety systems, and countless other technical details. In many ways, these drawings serve as the instruction manual for building the project. Contractors rely on them to understand exactly what must be constructed. Architects also play an important role in the permitting process. Local building departments review architectural and engineering drawings to ensure the project complies with building codes, safety regulations, and accessibility standards. Architects coordinate with regulators and often respond to questions or revisions required for approval. Once permits are secured and construction begins, the architect's role shifts again. They move into what is known as construction administration. Although the contractor is responsible for building the project, the architect remains involved to ensure the work aligns with the design intent. Architects review shop drawings submitted by contractors, respond to technical questions from the construction team, evaluate proposed material substitutions, and sometimes visit the site to observe progress. If unexpected conditions arise during construction, and that often happens, the architect works with engineers and contractors to develop solutions that maintain the integrity of the building while allowing the project to move forward. From an investment perspective, architectural decisions influence several major drivers of real estate value. First is layout efficiency. Small differences in building design can significantly affect rentable square footage or the number of units in a residential building. Second is construction cost. Material choices, facade systems, structural complexity, and building geometry all influence the development budget. Third is tenant experience. Buildings with good natural light, efficient circulation, and well-designed amenities often lease faster and command higher rents. And fourth is long-term durability. Thoughtful architectural detailing can reduce maintenance costs and extend the life of the building. So, while architecture is often associated with aesthetics, it is deeply connected to the economics of real estate development. If we step back and look at the development process as a whole, architects play a central role in transforming investment ideas into physical structures. They determine what can be built, design buildings that people want to occupy, coordinate complex engineering systems, navigate regulatory approvals, and guide projects through construction. And ultimately, their work shapes the physical environments where people live, work, and interact every day. That's today's reaction. If you found this episode helpful, please subscribe and join us next time as we continue breaking down the commercial real estate industry. I'm Spencer Carenti, and thank you for your time.